What's up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about a ridiculous conspiracy theory that has taken over the internet. I'm sure that you've seen it, I know I've seen it, and everyone who has said a single word in defense of Israel has seen it, and that is the claim that pro-Israel creators are being paid $7,000 per post by the Israeli government. Now, this has become the new go-to comment from the anti-Israel crowd. It's literally spammed under every video, every post, everything you see on social media. It doesn't matter who you are, how long you've been speaking about Israel, whether you're Jewish, Christian, Muslim. If you say anything that doesn't align with the anti-Israel narrative, you are accused of being paid $7,000 per post. So this claim traces back to a report by the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft, which is a think tank that is overwhelmingly anti-Israel and has a actual well-documented record of pushing narratives favorable to Iran and hostile to the U.S.-Israel relationship. This report claims that Israel hired a PR firm called Bridges Partners through Havas Media Group to run what was called an influencer campaign between June and September of 2025. Now, at the time of this video, it is October 30th, yet to this day, you will see people in every comment section of every video that is favorable of Israel saying that whoever is posting the video is being paid $7,000. This campaign ended over a month ago. So the total campaign budget was around $900,000, but here is exactly where the internet has just gone off the rails. The Quincy Institute guessed, yes, let me repeat that, they guessed that after subtracting administrative fees, legal fees, production costs, travel, and overhead, that around $500,000 was left for influencers. That was what was left over. And then they guessed again that the campaign would produce between 75 and 90 posts. They then divided those numbers and said, well, that must mean influencers are being paid $6,000 to $7,000 per post. There is no evidence of that. There are no contracts. There isn't even a list of influencers. There are no receipts. It's just public budget numbers and some doing division on a whiteboard and coming to this conclusion. So to just put this into perspective, okay, this would be the equivalent of saying, at least mathematically speaking, your local government has a $10 million public works budget, okay? And that budget has 12 projects included in it. So therefore each road cost exactly $833,333.33. Just basic division. Now, that claim would be nonsense because budgets are not billing statements. Budgets include estimates, production costs, staffing, media spend, travel, coordination, digital ad purchasing, software licensing, and many more variables, probably thousands of variables. But the best part is that the document itself literally states no contract on every section, meaning this wasn't a list of payments. This was a proposal, a projected outline, a media plan. The filing of this project included only 14 to 18 influencers to participate. Again, they're not named, they're not confirmed. It's just a projection. So how did 14 to 18 theoretical influencers suddenly turn into every single pro-Israel creator on the internet? The answer is that it did not, and the people spamming these comments never read the document. They saw a headline, they saw a viral infographic on some anti-Israel source or page on Twitter, and they decided to run with it because it supports what they already emotionally believe, that pro-Israel arguments are not arguments, they aren't genuine, they aren't factual, they are obviously some type of paid propaganda. This is what you call narrative warfare. If Israel were actually running a covert influencer campaign to sway public opinion, why would they pay people who are already pro-Israel, who already have pro-Israel audiences like myself, who have already publicly supported Israel long before this campaign supposedly even existed? Like, genuinely, I want all of you to think about that. If the stated purpose of this alleged campaign was to reach new audiences, especially Gen Z viewers and neutrals who haven't made up their mind, then logically, and this is just basic marketing strategy, you wouldn't spend money on creators who are already preaching to the choir. They wouldn't be maximizing any benefit that they are seeking. They wouldn't be changing the minds of anybody who hasn't already made up their mind. They wouldn't be influencing anybody. That would literally be inefficient. Nobody runs a political messaging campaign by giving money to people who already have loyal audiences who agree with them. If your goal is persuasion or outreach or narrative shaping, you would target, I don't know, undecided audiences, some type of mainstream lifestyle creators who aren't very political, maybe pop culture voices, Christian youth influencers, maybe some Christian apologists, maybe some reformed Muslims. Now, obviously, those are just, a couple of groups of people who I think would be great targets to promote this narrative, but you wouldn't waste money paying someone who has spent years posting pro-Israel content for free to an audience that already overwhelmingly supports Israel. It makes no sense. This is where the conspiracy completely dies. And I want to make this personal, okay? Because I have over 120,000 followers on TikTok, a little bit over 160,000 on Instagram, and then tens of thousands on, Facebook and a couple thousand on Twitter. I've been doing this every single day. Since October 7th of 2023, I've been posting pro-Israel content relentlessly, consistently, without payment, without sponsorship, because this is what I believe. My audience is 80% American. Many of them are Christian, many of them are Jewish, but almost all of them follow me because they already agree with my core message. And in every video I post since this allegation has come out, it's, you're paid $7K. I just want to make this clear, or ask a question at least. What possible incentive would there be to influence people who are already influenced? What strategic objective would be met by persuading people who have already been persuaded? What government in the world would choose to pay out massive funds to creators? Mind you, I don't have a huge platform, but pay out massive funds to creators who, by their own admission, like myself, already have pro-Israel audiences that need no persuasion whatsoever. That's the strategy, but I think to all people who think rationally, this is how we understand that conspiracy thinking works, because it doesn't have to make sense. All it has to do is feel right to the people who hate Israel. It has to provide an emotional relief to them, the people who are losing their arguments. And instead of accepting that someone's arguments are stronger than theirs, whether they're rooted in historical or modern fact or statistics or logic, they reduce every argument to the idea of corruption and that everyone who disagrees with them is paid off. These people have come to this conclusion that no one could possibly support Israel. They have warped their whole worldview into the belief that nothing Israel could do could possibly be the morally defensive position. Therefore, anybody who is defending Israel has to be being influenced by money. That isn't true. But what's also important is that you could demolish all of these allegations with basic math and timelines, which are two things that these conspiracy theorists never want to talk about or discuss, because once you actually introduce the facts and logic, the entire narrative crumbles. But again, if you would try and point this out to them, they would still tell you that you're being paid off. So according to the very Quincy Institute report that these people are referencing, the so-called influencer campaign was projected again to run from June to September of 2025. That's it. Limited time frame, defined scope. We have the dates. But if you look at the numbers, this report from the Quincy Institute claimed that this campaign involved a projected content output of 75 to 90 posts total over a period of 2 months from 14 to 18 content creators. So let me pull out my phone and just do some basic math. So let's say we take the max, 18 content creators, right? And let's say we take the max of the posts that were projected to be output. That's 90, and we divide that by the total of 18 content creators. That would be 5 posts per content creator. That isn't a lot, okay? And again, people are flooding this under every single video. At most, it would be 5 posts per content creator. And if you're going to be paying a content creator for 5 posts, you wouldn't use somebody who doesn't already have millions of followers. It doesn't make sense. But again, anybody, no matter if they have 1,000 followers, 10,000, 50,000, up to 10 million, they're all being accused of being paid $7,000 to this very day. So again, just like most viral claims that have been anti-Israel, like the famine that we obviously saw that just wasn't occurring, that was based off of selected statistics when there were broader portions and samples of population statistics they could have used to actually prove that there was no famine. These people don't care. They don't care about whether it's true. They care about whatever is useful to their narrative. And this conspiracy is very useful because it's a shortcut to discredit every pro-Israel voice without ever addressing a single fact or argument that they present. And while this is, a new claim, a new conspiracy, it's not really that far off from, the same anti-Semitic narrative that has existed for centuries, that Jews secretly pay people to control the world, that they control the messaging, they control social media, that Jews are orchestrating events behind the scenes that just none of us know about. It's been the Jews control the banks, then it was the Jews control Hollywood, then it was the Jews control Congress and the American government, and now in the age of TikTok and Instagram, it's the Jews are paying influencers $7,000 per post to push out propaganda. Now, propaganda in the modern sense, it has a negative connotation, but historically, there was no pejorative to propaganda. It just meant, some type of messaging or influence to sway somebody to take a side on a political opinion or a political cause. So again, I think it's important to understand that the pejorative exists in the modern connotation, the negative connotation, but it just means that they're paying people to utilize their platforms to push out messaging that is pro their side, pro their cause, pro-Israel. That doesn't negate or obviate whatever they are saying. For example, if somebody came to me, and I know this is kind of diluted into a very simple analogy, but if somebody came to me and said, hey, I'm going to pay you $7,000 to go on the internet and post a video explaining mathematics, and I want you to go over the times table from 1 times 1 to 12 times 12. And if I went through and I said 5 times 6 is 30, 7 times 7 is 49, all the way up to 12 times 12 is 144. If I was paid to do that, to help out children for an educational marketing strategy, right? Does that make 12 times 12 not equal to 144? Does that mean that 7 times 7 isn't 49? That 8 times 8 isn't 64? I say all this to say that just because somebody is being paid to say something, whether you agree that that's, morally reprehensible or you have no issue with it at all, it doesn't make what they're saying untrue. It just means that they are being paid by somebody larger to utilize their platform to push out messaging. But if you're posting things that you agree with and that are rooted in facts, I don't have an issue with it. I applaud people for building platforms and being trustworthy sources to where they've reached the point, where they can be paid to post things. There's nothing wrong with that. Unless, of course, you're pro-Israel, because as soon as somebody hears a pro-Israel point that they don't like, that they can't refute, instead of saying, okay, maybe they have a point, maybe I'm wrong, they'll say, nah, you're bought, you're paid off, Zionist check came through, you're taking 7K. These people don't have arguments. And this is what happens when you don't have facts. You then turn to attack the existence of facts. It's very, very sad to see. But again, I want to reiterate this because I think people need to be able to push back. The everyday people that are in comment sections, people need to understand the failed logic here. You guys need to be asking these people who are claiming this, why would Israel pay somebody who already has a pro-Israel audience? And then you should explain to them that that's not how influence works, that is redundant. It makes no sense to spend money preaching to the choir. And if you're going to run a campaign for persuasion, you target undecided people, not people who already agree with you. So use the logic, because the logic is non-existent among the anti-Israel crowd. It's pure emotion. The anti-Israel crowd, in my opinion, is amongst the most intellectually lazy and historically illiterate that I've seen of any group of people who have latched onto, any cause. And again, it is anti-Semitic in origin because it's rooted in the idea that Jews don't win arguments. They can't win at all. They just have to buy outcomes to influence people. And this enables them to keep repeating this claim because it allows them to just dismiss any argument whatsoever without ever having to refute it. They don't have to say anything again other than you're paid. So unless you believe that the Israeli government is running the least effective, most wasteful, strategically incompetent PR campaign in the history of international relations, this accusation simply does not hold up. It makes absolutely no sense to anyone who has actually looked at the claims and thought just for maybe 5 seconds critically. But again, the people who spread this, hateful rhetoric, they aren't thinking strategically. They're not analyzing anything. They're not reading the reports that they themselves are citing. They're trying to create a psychological excuse for why their arguments can never win. It's never because their narrative is weak. It's never because facts contradict them. It's because Israel has money and they apparently don't. So, just to wrap this up, this conspiracy theory is lazy, it's dishonest, and it's just the latest iteration of a centuries-old anti-Semitic trope that Jews can't win arguments. They buy outcomes. It's a lie, and it's designed to silence anybody who speaks the truth about Israel, Hamas, terrorism, or the free world. And if these people had real arguments, they would make them, but they don't. So they resort to conspiracy, and my message to them is simple. If you can't debate on the facts, if you don't know what you're talking about, either just say that or keep your mouth shut, because truth doesn't need a payment. It stands firm on its own. And as long as these lies continue to spread, I'm going to keep talking about it. I took the time to make this video because I think it's an important, thing for all of us to understand at the current moment and to be able to combat, these just ridiculous claims where these people, again, don't make arguments. So if you took something away from this video, if, it helped you think more clearly or to understand the situation, make sure that you are subscribed. Hit the like button, drop a comment, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. And of course, if you want to support my channel and help me, keep doing this work independently without corporate backing, without hidden sponsors or being paid 7K by Israel, which I am not, You can do that through all of the links in the description. If you don't want to take the time to scroll through those links, you can find me on just about every social media platform at The Moderate Case. I post daily across every single platform. That's where you can find me. And again, as always, I appreciate all of you so much for being here. I'll see you guys in the next video.